Hello and welcome to the Common Colt Podcast, a podcast made by Colts fans who just tell it how it is. I'm Josh Hudgens, and joined by me is Dan Hertzler. Dan, how you doing? Colts blew it.
Man, well, I don't even know how to wrap my head around this game.
Oof.
Giving a little people on the inside, you and I, we go back and forth during the game. We kind of put out titles. We kind of put out ideas where we're going. Man, this one went from like way up here to way down here. It was, that ESPN kind of probability of win percentage. Man, that thing just was crazy, this game. This was a wild game. Josh, give me a word. How do you sum up this game?
Yeah, my one word is embarrassing. The Colts led 33 to nothing, and they lost. And, every time I watch the Colts, and when they lose, I mean, they had that run against the Cowboys where they just fell apart, and you think of some other games they've lost this year, and you're like, they can't possibly lose in a much worse fashion. And the type of loss this was, I'm just utterly disappointed, stunned, embarrassed to be a Colts fan. What about you?
Yeah, well, let me pick your brain a little bit on that. Do you give them any credit for taking a 33-0 lead? Did that show any promise, any hope to you? Or is it all washed away because they blew it?
No, because the way they had that 33-point lead, it's just like a kid. And I know, you have a family, and we're family people, and we at least have, kids in our lives. And it's like a kid when they tell you, like, hey, I'm going to puke. And then they just stand there, and then they vomit all over themselves, and they don't like puke in the toilet or something. That was the Vikings in the first half. And They literally punt block. They went for a fake punt. They got stopped on fourth down from their own 30-yard line. They're throwing pick sixes. They're fumbling. They just puked all over themselves. And the Colts couldn't do anything but score because they had the ball at like the 30-yard line every time. And then when they actually had to put together a drive, they did nothing. There was no part of that game where I felt that the Colts offense especially was like a dominating force, and the defense was opportunistic. They made the plays when they could, but still, I don't feel all warm and fuzzy at all. I'm embarrassed. I don't know. Are you feeling different?
No, I'm not feeling different. I think it's a great discussion because it even goes back to, if you remember the Bills in the 90s, they made 4 Super Bowls, and do you praise them for making there and then they lose them, or is the losses take away from the accomplishments? To me, I think this game, the one word I got is historic, because it was the biggest comeback ever in a game, and it happened against the Colts. And to me, that wiped out everything or anything that happened in the first half. To me, that this is like, again, if wherever you've been on this roller coaster of a season, to me, this is a historical moment that people have to look at and say something has to happen to this Colts team. It's just got to get blown up somewhere. Okay, I'm not saying like start everything all over again, but you got to look at really hard. You got to look at front office, coaching, quarterback. Start at those 3 places. And I think there's a potential that all 3 of those things need to get wiped out. You cannot blow a 33-point lead at halftime, and really, it's just a disaster all over the place. Curious that we do the kind of the not game ball and the Curtis Painter game ball. Who are you giving the game ball to?
I'm giving it to the offense. And again, just to kind of reinforce, they did nothing all game. And Jonathan Taylor, man, I don't know if he's been playing nicked up. Obviously, he left the game early with some ankles. He just needs shut down. The defense put him in great spots, or the Vikings put him in great spots in the first half. And when it came down to the second half, they could do nothing. And it was just disappointing to watch. And man, Matt Ryan is just washed up. Just washed up. I don't know any other way to put it. What about you?
I got it on the coaching staff. That fourth down play, you've got to, we see it all the time now. People are running that jet sweep motion behind the quarterback to do the kind of the push, the Bush push kind of thing. And you got to do something to help Matt Ryan get that first down. You got to get that first down. That wins the game. They get the first down, the game's over. Okay, the Vikings have no chance whatsoever. They have no timeouts left. You run the clock out, game's over. And it just was not a good play call in the second half. I mean, everything from the routine kind of runs to the simple passes I mean, we saw nothing creative just to do something. You have this Viking team that's on edge. And now let's remember, too, the Vikings got kind of screwed on some calls.
Yeah.
I mean, there should have been multiple fumbles that could have happened. They wouldn't have needed overtime to win this game. And so it would have been even more of an embarrassment if they would have gotten those calls. And I'm putting it on the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, Parks Frazier called a bad game, and that's something to note. And we're going to talk about Jeff Saturday in a second here. And I want you guys to, if you can, pause the video, or as you're listening, go ahead, like, subscribe. And I want to see some comments on about what your word is and who you're giving the Curtis Painter game ball to, because I love reading that stuff. And the worst part about losing this game, and obviously being, because the season was over already. I know we're technically out of the playoffs now, but it was done anyway. Regardless if they won, is the fact that now every time I watch a football game, whether it's a Colts game or not, and somebody's coming back down a big score. It used to be the Bills game that they would show, like, oh, this is a big. Now they're going to show the Colts losing. They're like, this and 2022, we're going to be watching this for the next 20 or 30 years, that the Colts are going to be on some highlight reel every time somebody's trying to come back in a game and they're close to coming back. I mean, it's going to be always reminded.
How many times, like someone was texting us or chatting in the game and they're like, oh, we took a nap because we thought this game was over, or, oh, I can't believe this is a game. And you got, all these other people making fun of the Colts. And here it is, again, a nationally televised game. The Colts just look really bad. Yeah. This is probably their fourth game this year, that they just looked really bad on national TV. And, this is who the Colts are. And someone somewhere's got to look in the mirror and say, okay, enough is enough. We've got to admit who we are, and we got to start clearing house. Josh, what do you think about Jeff Saturday? You bringing him back, or is this the last nail in the coffin for him?
Well, I love Jeff Saturday, obviously being a Colts fan, and I don't think they can bring him back, honestly. And the reason being is I don't think he's made any major mistakes as a head coach. I know there was the whole timeout fiasco against the Steelers, which I think was slightly overblown because given the situation of Saturday being the head coach, I think if it was just a middle of the road head coach, it wouldn't have been blown up as much. But in my opinion, if you're an interim head coach and you let up the largest comeback in NFL history, I think that's a kiss of death. I truly do. And I think that Saturday, in a lot of ways, has improved this Colts team, and I think their offensive line's playing better, and they're getting hot starts. Like they could do that, but I don't think that he's the answer long term. And I think after this big of a comeback, it's kind of like, okay, like a good coach would find a way to find, even if it got close and we had messaged throughout the game, even if this game got close late, a good coach would have found a way to win and then kind of be like, I wish it wouldn't have gotten that close, but we found a way to win. Saturday and Parks Frazier and the whole coaching staff need to go.
Yeah, I think you can look out west right now, and you can look in the south. You can look at Miami and you can look at San Francisco. Both of those guys and those teams are running some pretty creative, unique offenses that don't have, we'll say, look at San Francisco. They don't have a top-notch quarterback. They've got this rookie that's playing well, but the design is so smart. They're not asking them to do a lot. Then I come back and I watch a Colts game, and I'm just seeing blah, 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 blah every single time. And I'm just looking and saying, this isn't the wave of the future. This isn't the new NFL. You've got to find someone that's creative, someone that's doing things that are unique. And the Colts don't have some of the players that they need, but they don't have the right coaching staff. And so I'm right with you. Jeff Saturday seems like a great guy. Now, if he comes in and gives me a pitch for something that brings in an offensive coordinator that can do that, and Jeff Saturday just becomes the kind of the figurehead, maybe I'd listen to that. Yeah. But I'm not convinced that he's that kind of coach. I wanted to give a shout out to the defense. I thought the defense did really well. They just got gas in the second half. You can't ask them to do too much. The defense is a high quality right now, but that offense is so bad, and you need a coach that's going to come in here and do something with that offense.
Well, I want to your point, and I think I read an article about this not too long ago, and I've thought this for a while. The Colts are or the 49ers are what the Colts tried to be. And that's building a strong defense, a decent running game, good running game. And obviously they have playmakers at receiver that we don't. And a team that just about any quarterback could come in and play well. Because Chris Ballard had said around the time Andrew Luck was still the Colts quarterback when he was hurt, he's like, hey, look, this team is going to be built around more than one guy. And it's not. It's not. Yeah. This team cannot win. If you insert 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy, who's on the news right now, you put him in this situation, it would not be pretty. And that falls on Ballard just about more than anybody. And then obviously Saturday, again, I like Saturday. I think he's doing okay. But with this loss and the fact that I don't think that he's going to be the kind of guy to help develop a young franchise quarterback. So, and if there is a great offensive coordinator out there, they're going to want to be a head coach. So I think because of that, they're going to have to probably let Saturday go to find somebody who you could pair with a young quarterback.
I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this drum until it happens. Two things the Colts can't miss on. They can't miss on an offensive coordinator / head coach. They can't miss on a playmaker receiver. They need a playmaker receiver. Yeah. All these teams we're talking about, Deebo Samuel, they've got in Miami, they've got two of them with Waddle and Hill. The Colts, Michael Pittman's not it. I'm sorry. If you're a Pittman fan, he can fit in there somewhere, but he is not a playmaker. He does the wrong thing at the wrong time. He's pretty much solid as that's the best compliment I can give to him. We need a playmaker receiver to open up this offense. And that's what, to me, that's almost a number one priority, even more than quarterback right now.
Yeah. And there's nobody who actually upsets me more than Michael Pittman does during games. And I problem is, as Colts fans, we have a guy and he's likable. He has a YouTube channel and it's a good channel. And he's the best receiver we got. And he would probably be the number 2 receiver on a lot of teams. But time and time again, I think as fans, we see potential. And I've said this before on the show. At the end of the day, potential just means you haven't become what people think you could be. And Michael Pittman is a solid receiver, but in the clutch, the guy drops passes. He's fumbled now and came close to fumbling multiple times. I don't see. He's a big bodied guy. He's solid, but he's not an elite receiver. So
not a playmaker. That's what we need. A playmaker.
I agree. So guys, we're not going to ramble on too much more. That's the Common Colt Podcast. Tell us what you think. Hey, GM, head coach, quarterback, all question marks. And I think we had the answer on a few of them for sure. So let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with a friend. We appreciate you watching the Common Colt Podcast and hope you have a great week. And hey, it can't get much worse, right, Colts fans? See you around.